Yesterday was the Boston Celtics Media Day, which means everybody had a field day and talking about their opinions for the Boston Celtics upcoming season. Now, I'm going to be honest, one NBA analyst has set the bar pretty high, but that's to be expected when you just win the NBA Finals. So I'm going to be giving you guys my reaction and my opinion to what one NBA analyst had to say for what he thinks the Celtics could be able to do this upcoming year. But before I jump into that, I have one quick question here, and this is obviously the question that's been surrounding everybody's mind heading into the NBA season, and that's, will the Boston Celtics win back-to-back? It's extremely hard to do, especially in the NBA, and knowing how stacked the Western Conference is, that's always the goal. Just beat the guy in the West, because if you're playing them, that means you're in the finals again. So let me know what you guys think, and then we'll break down what an NBA analyst had to say. Go ahead and type Y for yes, type N for no if you guys think the Celtics can do it. And let's go ahead and recap the media takeaways. If you guys want the full report on what happened yesterday, go ahead, check out my video here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. But number one, it looks like Lonnie Walker is sure as shit going to be a Boston Celtic. We know he's on an E10 right now, so he's just trying out for the Celtics in training camp. But it looks like Brad Stevens and everybody else really likes what Walker can bring to the table. But there's also been a couple of off-season surgeries, not just Kristaps Porzingis, but also Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman. And the number one thing here that the Boston Celtics have to try to keep same, but also keep different, is having the same roster, but knowing that every other team in the NBA is completely different than what they just faced this last season. And then, of course, Tatum and Brown are working overtime with that extra chip on their shoulder. Thank you very much, Steve Kerr. But overall, the grand takeaway here is that the Celtics haven't skipped a beat. A couple of them played for the Olympics. A couple of them got to work out this summer. One of them became a dad, a.k.a. Sam Hauser. So yes, the Boston Celtics are different this year because they had the Larry O'Brien trophy. They are finally NBA champions. But the goal is still the same, and that's what's always great to hear. But there was one analyst that pretty much sent the message out to the NBA for myself, for the Boston Celtics, and that was ESPN's Zach Lowe. What he had to say was that everybody should be terrified of the Celtics. The rest of the league should be terrified watching all of those comments because the Celtics have everybody coming back. They are fully loaded once again the same way they were last year. Before all this happened, before all the Olympic stuff, before the DNPs that Tatum is clearly still irked about, they were already the team best positioned to repeat since the Warriors with Kevin Durant and Steph Curry were the last team to repeat. And I know that just the DNPs and the Olympic stuff just puts an extra chip on their shoulder, but I agreed with everything that Zach Lowe had to say. This team is the most motivated team heading into the NBA, which is ironic because they just won. Normally, it's the complete opposite. And I loved what he said about the 2017 Warriors because in my lifetime, that was always the best team that had played. But now, the 2023 Celtics, looking at what they dealt with last year and knowing how stacked this roster is and knowing that everybody is coming back, pending Kristaps Porzingis, for the first 2 months, you are seeing electric scoring 1 through 5. You've also got 2 all-defensive players in your backcourt. You've got a phenomenal duo that we have not seen since the 2012 Heat. And then you've got Kristaps Porzingis, and it's very rare for a center to be putting up the same amount of points as your guards and your forwards. This is a stacked roster. And let me bring it back to the Warriors starting 5, right? Because when I was talking about the 2017 Warriors, that was the team to beat. That was the best team I had ever seen play basketball in my lifetime. And they were completely stacked. And when you do look at what the Celtics have in comparison to the 2017 Warriors with your Kevin Durant, with your Draymond Greens, Andre Iguodala, Steph Curry, you've got a lot of similarities. You're elite on both sides of the basketball. You have phenomenal three-point shooting from Kristaps Porzingis to Jrue Holiday, who led the NBA in corner threes with 63% last year. And you also have point differential. There are several comparisons that you can make to the Boston Celtics to former NBA championship teams. And the beauty is, Zach Lowe said it, 13 out of 15 players are coming back. While other rosters out there, the 76ers, the Knicks, they have to get adjusted and start tweaking their starting 5 because new players are coming to town. The Celtics already have an upper hand, and that should make the road a little bit easier going back to the finals. So just to make it a little bit spicy in the comment section down below, because this could go either way here, do you think the 2023-24 Celtics were better than the 2017 Golden State Warriors? Kevin Durant, Andre Iguodala, Zaza, Draymond Green, Steph Curry. Let me know in the comment section down below. Comment why you think they are or why you do not think they are, because this is a team to beat in my generation of watching basketball, and why you guys are really sitting on it, because that can be a little bit of a brain teaser there. Let me tell you guys real quick about how you can fuel yourself and feel your best while spending on a budget. Let me talk to you guys about our sponsor, Factor Meals. Factor is a no prep, no mess meal that's ready to eat in just 2 minutes. And these are actually chef-crafted meals, all right? This is not frozen. This is not just sitting out there on a truck. These are meals that are going to make you feel really good and help you reach your goals with calorie-smart options, protein plus, and keto. And with over 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you're always going to find new flavors to explore and adhere to even your pickiest eater in your family, which, of course, was always myself. I don't eat red meat. It's just a preference, so I got to make sure I'm getting my protein intake somehow. So I love anything with beans, fish, chicken, and the good thing is that they have restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients, so I can eat just that, like filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon, and more. Keep kitchen time to a minimum, and go on ahead and head over to factormeals.com/chatsports50. Use code CHATSPORTS50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code CHATSPORTS50 at factormeals.com/chatsports50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is still active. So that's the question, right? Can Boston win it all again? I cannot express how hard it is to do that, especially since the Eastern Conference is also juicing up their rosters a little bit. Now you got Bridges with the Nova Knicks. Now you got Paul George with the 76ers. You got Bam Adebayo still in the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler. You got DeMar DeRozan, who now shipped his way to the West Coast to the Sacramento Kings. There are a lot of roster moves, which is going to make it very difficult, pending any injuries, for the Celtics to rerun it back. But Zach Lowe continues to keep his stance on why the Celtics are the best positioned team to do so. The Celtics are looking good for that goal in the eye. They're talking about it. They're saying it out loud. And the rest of the league should look at this team with 2 stars in their absolute prime. Perfect complementary players all over the roster. And then listen to the comments and say, uh-oh, there's not going to be any complacency here. There's not going to be any satisfaction with winning just one. All of these players, except for Jrue Holiday, just won their first. This team wants history, and they're ready to chase it. Let's talk about those comments, because you can't tell me that the media itself, Kendrick Perkins, Stephen A. Smith, even Zach Lowe, have created the most perfect offseason for the Boston Celtics to ever have coming off winning a championship. They were disrespected on their way to the finals, talking about it being cookie cutter, talking about how Kristaps Porzingis saved them, and they have a easy way to get to the finals. Then they won it, and there's still no respect. Now you've got a DNP. Now you got a man that was snubbed from the Olympic roster. I don't give a shit what they say. It clearly is going to fuel them heading into this season. So not only that, but a team that just won it, they're not being respected like they just won it. And, like I said, Holiday was the only player that knew what it was like to win the NBA Finals with the Milwaukee Bucks a few years ago. Everybody else, that was their first time. And even Joe Mazzulla said, I hated the offseason. Hated it. But the parade was pretty fun. Now Joe Mazzulla, even Brad Stevens all the way up in the front office, and every single player knows what it takes to win. The only thing that gives you motivation before winning it is that feeling that you're trying to chase. But now it's going to be an adrenaline rush. Now it's going to be a dopamine hit that the only thing you can do to satisfy it is hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy once more. Because you have to think that while Zach Lowe talked about how they have 2, not 1, but 2 players in their prime of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum, and then pairing that with Derrick White and Jrue Holiday, 2 all-defensive players, not to mention having the best starting center and backup center you could hope for in Kristaps Porzingis and Al Horford, Brad Stevens is the best general manager you could have ever asked to run this thing. Pairing him up with an absolute fucking basketball psycho and Joe Mazzulla is the next best pairing. Brad Stevens isn't done making adjustments to this roster. As perfect as it is, he's still going out there and he's searching on the free agency market. He may or may not make something happen at the NBA trade deadline in February. And Brad Stevens wants to equip those two stars, the backcourt, the centers with the best possible depth chart. And he said, generally, I wouldn't mind a tweak or two just because I think that those things can galvanize you, can give you a jolt, can give you the juice that you need. Stevens went up and picked the best free agent on the market, being Lonnie Walker. And I know it was just an E10, but I like the E10. I can't tell you how many times Lonnie Walker at Media Day, he reiterated that I am just here for a 10-day contract. I've got something to prove. He understands that what it takes to play for the champions, and he doesn't want to play for anybody else. That's the kind of attitude, and that's the kind of momentum that you need heading into the season. It's a little bit of fresh juice, just like Brad Stevens says. But he said that he's not done. Said that maybe he could do one or two more tweaks to the roster. So do you guys think Lonnie Walker is the only improvement the Boston Celtics can make, knowing they only have one open roster spot? Could you see maybe a Jaden Springer trade happening in the future? Could you see him switch it up just to really make this fresh for the Boston Celtics that are trying to run it back? Let me know what you guys think. Type A for ad if you think there's another player out there that can do justice to this team. Or type K for keep if you think Lonnie Walker is the perfect addition and it doesn't move the needle that much in the wrong direction. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hit that sub button for me. Anything and everything around your Boston Celtics you're going to find right here, so subscribe.